Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Photo Hustle podcast, where we dish out the secrets to thriving in the photography world. I'm Anna Sillen. I am a professional photographer out of Chicago, and I am your co-host. And my fellow photo professional photographer here is Mondo. Mondo, give us a quick hello.
Hey, everybody. I'm coming to you from Las Vegas, Nevada, and professional out here for the last 13 years. And we're excited to have a really good show for you today.
Yes, exactly. I'm sorry. I feel like bad that I'm rolling back and forth in my chair. This is what I do. Well, you know what? This is real. This is real life. This is happening right now. We don't really cut or take out too many things. We just kind of like record it as it is. So here we are. But today, it's going to be a special podcast topic. We're going to be talking about trends in photography. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about consistency in your work. Oh, that's so important, right, Mondo?
So
Yeah.
important.
Yes. And then we've got a little special, like little Anna and Mondo banter on poses in personal branding. So I can't wait to talk about that part. That's going to be fun. So there you go. We're already starting it. All right.
Yeah.
So let's just, without further ado, let's just hop right into it. I mean, I think our current landscape of photography is just kind of just growing and growing, and we have different trends that we're seeing and in what people are producing. I think Mondo, you just mentioned some earlier before we got on the podcast. What have you noticed in trends in photography today?
Well, one of the biggest things which I like and I think is really kind of cool is the younger generation liking the aesthetic from like the 90s and early 2000s, or for lack of a better term for it, I feel it's more of like the Polaroid kind of look, so
Mm,
you have like
hmm
hard light, grain, a very unpolished look. And I've had in my work, I've had requests from that from the younger generations, which is cool. I mean, it helps me to kind of stay with the know, but also it's fun to kind of experiment that way. How about you?
I agree. Actually, that's a good point. Like what I've seen in photography too, like trends. I don't know, wherever I go, I just kind of look at Instagram and see what people are doing. Isn't it kind of like our place that we just kind of throw all of our photos? Don't you do
I
that?
think so. Well, I mean, that's the
Yeah.
thing though, is that was the whole point of Instagram, is just a place for
hmm
people to share their videos and photos. So it's a good place to find out the trends for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or Snapchat, but Snapchat is difficult because those stories disappear after what, 24 hours. So it's like you don't really get to
Yes.
see someone's work or body of work, really.
Well, I mean, this is not a photo trend that I'm behind, but I notice with being around my nieces and nephews that are like pretty young, but they're in that whole like Snapchat like world, that they're doing these photos where they're like making their foreheads like super
Oh,
large. Have you seen that?
yes, my
Is that
kids do
just
that.
me being old? I'm like, no. I'm like, what is this? I mean, are you seriously? Here's my niece, just like, oh, take a picture. And she goes like this. I'm like, wait,
Yeah.
why do I have a picture of an egghead on my phone? That is just wild.
Oh my God, it's crazy. The first time that my middle daughter, she's 13 now. The first time she sent me a
Uh-huh.
photo like that, I was like, "Well, what is this?" And it's his eyes up, huge forehead, and I'm like, "What? Why? Why?" And he says, "Hey, Dad, just hanging." Like, what the, okay. But then I
Or
see so many other kids doing that. I'm like, "What? That's a thing now."
maybe somebody can, maybe somebody in the chat or like in the notes below can comment on why people, what's the thing? Why are we doing that? But you know what? If I know about it, it's probably an old trend now by now because
Yeah.
so maybe
Well,
that was like so like
and that's
3 years ago.
That's why I love TikTok, because it keeps me up to date with trends. And so
Oh
I
man.
throw them at my kids all the time. So my oldest is 14. My next girl, she's 13. And so
Uh-huh.
I'll say something and they both kind of stop and they look over and they go, "How do you know about that?" And I go, "Girl, I'm hip with it. You don't understand. My finger's on the pulse all the time. I know
Oh
these
my
things."
God. Okay, this is why I'm hanging out with you, Mondo, because then I can get the information, the 311 from all all your kids.
hmm and like so yeah, all the lingo. So like right now, the big thing is they say that I am what was it? I'm crashing, something like that. Oh, I'm crashing, and I go, is that
Crashing.
a good? Yeah, I go, is that a
Is
good
that a
thing?
good thing?
I don't understand. And they go, yeah, yeah, it's kind of good. I go, oh, okay, huh,
What?
huh, okay,
Oh, so that's equivalent to like I'm good.
yeah, I guess so.
Oh,
So like yeah, like bad. I guess back in the '80s we say bad because it meant was oh that's so bad. They mean that it meant
that's
good,
bad. Yeah.
versus
Okay.
now.
Dude,
So
I'm
yeah,
crashing right now.
yeah,
Totally crashing.
exactly. But then I'll
Dude.
throw them off by saying something like really like dad, and I'll say like
Yeah.
as the kids today would say, I am hip to the jive,
Yeah.
and they both go, Dad, no one says that. I go, they do though. They do. They say it in high school.
Yes. Yes. I
You're all in junior
agree.
high. You don't know, but high
100%.
school they know.
One last thing that I noticed that my nieces and nephews are doing is that when they call it the point fives. Okay, have you heard of that?
No.
It's like when they turn the cell phone around and they have it on the super wide, which is called the point five, right?
Okay, that makes
Uh,
sense. Yeah.
so they turn it around and then they hold it like that, and that's how you do a group shot.
Oh,
Yeah,
fancy.
but it's still a little skewed. Not the
Yeah.
best, but you're getting everybody in the shot, so that's
Yeah.
accomplished, and that's great.
Well, it works. It works. It
Yeah.
works.
But as far as like trends in photography, actual trends in photography, I'm seeing a lot of and this is more in our world with like branding and headshots. I'm seeing a lot of great like focus, like single light, uh,
Hmm.
lighting on the subjects, just really capturing everybody in like sort of like a very powerful stance, you know?
Hmm.
So I'm seeing a lot of that happening and I really, really kind of dig it. And I'm sorry where it's like something I actually think that, as I'm shooting capturing photos of like my clients, I'm like, okay, let's try that with a single light, which primarily I do shoot with a single light with maybe like a little kick on the end when I'm working on doing some of those branding shots. So, but I
Hmm.
really like that, and I think, and I'm seeing more and more of that come to fruition. So,
So when you say
uh,
single light, is there's no like bounce fill? It's just one light and
right,
heavy
just
shadows.
one light, yeah, just one
Wow.
light creating the shadow. It's like,
Hmm.
if I have my light right here, but yeah, it's hard for me to do that because I have a different diffuser on it. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's seriously like just a single light coming on the side, and then there's just no. I mean, it's a little bit darker. There's not really much of a fill, but
Hmm.
it's kind of like an impactful shot.
Now, is it kind of like Rembrandty to where, kind of like how we do in the crew with the Keith kits, where you get a little bit of that spotlight on
Yeah,
the opposite side of the face, or is it just straight side light? Side light.
it's no the for what you were saying with the key field kick. So
Okay.
Um, I mean, I'm seeing it more from a branding perspective. It's not new.
Hmm.
Like even like your
Yeah.
headshots, kind of like that style, right? So I
Yeah, I was
think,
actually going to point that
yeah,
out. Yeah, that's
hmm
the kind of the
yeah, yeah,
classic
yeah,
Keith kit.
exactly,
But
right.
from a branding point of view, so when you say branding, does that mean like three-fourths body, full body, or is that
Right.
more? Yeah, okay,
Right.
okay,
More of the body instead of like in we do that a lot in like headshots, but like with more like the body and just being able to be a little bit more dramatic. And that's
yeah.
the reason why I find that, more in find that newer is because that's the stuff that I like to do. And I'm
Hmm.
seeing a lot of people are starting to like do that. I'm seeing a lot of the same style of photography come through. And with clients being more comfortable using these sort of like dramatic shots in their branding, marketing work.
Sure.
So, mhm.
Yeah. Well, because I think also in today's scape is that with TikTok and Instagram, you have a lot of these people that are seeing this really good work, or they see something they like, and they go, "Ooh,
Mhm.
I kind of like that," and then they start seeing more and more, which is why it's becoming a trend. And they go, "Well, you know
Mhm.
what? We have classic headshots, we have this, but we also need content. We need to be able to have good content to put
Right.
out there." And so this would fit with that. I think, to where they go, okay, cool, this is a little more drama. We can add thought bubbles, or we can add, graphics or whatever over here, or
Right.
even something to be ready to submit to like a magazine or to an article, because if they need something to like feature them, they go, oh well, perfect,
Mhm.
I got this will work well. And I've
Right.
had that happen with one client of mine. He got featured on some stuff, and we're having a great old time shooting all kinds of great stuff. And he had a bazillion shots that he was able to submit because of that. They were like, "Hey,
Hmm.
we need something that's eye catching." He's like, "Well, here's all
Right.
these shots. You pick one out," and they ended up picking, one of the more dramatic ones that I had done. Just a kind of
Yeah.
like that showstopper
And I
piece.
think a lot of it is too, it's like our eyes naturally gravitate towards the brightest spot of the image,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So having that like specific sort of spotlighty Rembrandt style, I think it just really kind of like makes it a little bit like it's got that more of like that impact, you know,
Hmm. It
on
punches.
just
Yeah.
saying, yeah, it's a good punch to the shot. So
Hmm.
I'm seeing a lot more of people. I'm seeing a lot of people use that more in their marketing materials. So that's what I'm
Yeah.
noticing.
I
Hmm.
like that. And that's cool too, because I mean,
Hmm.
how many years we've seen the same old same, like we were just talking about before the show started, of the arms crossed, hard lean,
Yeah,
kind of a look. And it's
right.
like, people want something just a little bit different. Not to say that the whole
Hmm.
session's got to be that, but at least something,
Right,
that they
right.
have,
Exactly.
And I
Hmm.
think our jobs as photographers is to not just, do a good job shooting and things like that, but also to be more of a brand manager and
Right.
advocate and say, hey, well, this could be, I could see this in a magazine, I could see this on, a Facebook post or something like that,
Right.
and help guide
Hmm.
them to, making better decisions as far as like what could go where, you know,
Hmm.
um, not necessarily doing it just for the sales aspect of it, because, yes, we're in sales, but
Of
if
course.
you're
Yeah.
actually advocating for their business in a way of like, hey, I could see this, I could see you using this for this certain
Yeah.
thing,
And that's a lot
then
of that's a lot of my session too. It's like, sometimes I'll be staring off into a different corner just to like kind of visualize what else could this person in this financial advisor role or this project management role or the CEO role, how else could I see this person uh, pose, or how could I pose them, or like how could I create that sort of visual that shows exudes power and confidence, like in a branded image, so that they can
mm-hmm,
use that, and that they has um, a lot of leverage. You can use that in so many pieces of material, marketing materials,
sure,
like your website, to like even articles. Maybe it's like something where you're sitting in a dramatic, mooded lighting, where
mm-hmm,
uh, it's kind of like, here's topics or deep thoughts from your leader of the group, or your top executive of the company, so
mm-hmm,
here's some things to think through. So I think about that during the shoot and just look throughout the session, and like, what are some things that we can do that actually give you some material to use for some things that you can use for your marketing
mm-hmm.
and
And also, and that,
communications. Yeah.
yeah, and then also I think it should also be said that the funny as well. So like while strong and powerful is really good, but also you got to show a little bit of a personality as well. So like for me, so I just did a bunch of branding shots for myself, and
Hmm.
I decided to do some more funnier stuff of like, just different facial expressions of like, look at this, or what do you think about
Yeah.
this, hands up,
Yeah.
so that way we can have that graphics and text off to one side and things. And I just did an ad on LinkedIn, and I'm
I
sitting
saw
there like
that.
on a tabletop. Yeah, you saw that. I'm like, this, look,
Yeah.
look this,
You're like, hey,
and
what's that? Uh-huh.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
That was good. Yeah. I
thank
love
you.
it.
But it
Hmm.
shows, different personalities, and it could be usable for different things. One of the first times I
Right.
used it was with a marketing manager, and we were doing a lot of the good serious stuff, and it looked really good, really clean. I was okay. We have all the safe shots. Let's do some fun stuff. And she's like, well, what do you mean? I go, well, hold your hand up like this, like you're not sure. And she's like,
Hmm.
oh, okay, like that. And she was giving me the expression of, I'm not sure. And I'm like, yeah, great, perfect. That's the one. She's like, well, what would I use
Right.
that for? And I go, well, you could, because you're doing marketing, you could say, who like your worst experiences with a marketer, or don't forget about this, or do some of the ins and outs of marketing that you wouldn't think to know, stuff like that.
Hmm.
Anything could be used there. And so
Yeah.
getting her to think like that, she's like, oh, you know what? Actually, I do like that. So let's do some more,
Isn't
you
that
know?
amazing though? Because we are there not as the photographer, but as the one that can help you kind of visualize how to use these images. Because
Hmm.
it's not every day that you're in front of a camera, right? And
Hmm.
obviously when we are in front of a camera, natural what's our natural like thought process is smile, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but the thing is with branding, it takes it to that next level. We're telling a story. So that's why I was telling my clients, like, look, we're telling a story of who you are. Maybe giving people an idea of like, wait, what your personality is like. What are some quirky looks on your face that you naturally do, or like what if you are you know project manager of a big team, and someone says, no, I don't want to do what you just told me that we need to do to get the whole job done. What does that look on your face? So so like like to like even a parent, like that is like I even said this to like some C-suite level executives. I'm like, hey, give me that look of your kids did the dishes and you didn't even ask them, and they're
Mm.
like, okay, they give me like ultimate joy.
Mm.
So some these things are I think it's our job specifically to help people get there,
Hmm.
because it's not easy to be in front of a camera, but if we can help people kind of guide them into that area, it just makes it so much more of a fruitful like portfolio of images that they can use for
Yeah, I
anything.
agree. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, actually, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I know.
No, you hit
Okay,
it. Yeah.
so I sort of like went crazy with that,
No,
but
it's good.
that's
That's good
with
stuff.
that's trending in photography for marketing. I felt like everything is kind of like hitting a more moodier lighting,
Hmm.
but it's I think everything goes with like what that mood is. If it's a
Yeah.
serious thing, moody, dark and moody is great. If it's fun and whimsical, bright and airy, I think is great,
Hmm.
for that. But yeah, so that being said, we have another big topic. Our main topic that we wanted to talk about today is about consistency, right?
Yes.
Consistency in photography. Um, and I don't want to get confused with like niche, the
Hmm.
niche of your, maybe they kind of go hand in hand, but they're a little bit different.
Yeah.
Rhonda, when I say consistency in your work, how does that resonate with you?
Well, for me, and we talk about this a lot in the crew, is that when somebody is Googling whatever it is they need a photographer for, so whether it be a family shoot, a wedding, quinceanera, headshots, lifestyle, or branding, you know, people are looking for a product and they have to be able to
Mm-hmm.
see their product in your work. And so if you have non-consistent, say like, color, lighting, expressions, and there aren't is not enough consistency to where the person who's going to be buying doesn't know what they're going to be buying, right? It
Right,
would be the equivalent of them looking up jewelry, say they want this, they want to go to Cartier, they want this specific, tiger, pendant or something. And they go
right.
there thinking that
Mm-hmm.
this is what they're going to get. And instead of, white gold, it's yellow gold. And they go, well, but online it's still white gold, so that's what I want. And they go, no, no, we don't. That was just an online thing. I'm sorry that this is what it is, or something completely different. And
Mm-hmm.
that, as the consumer, as the customer goes like, well, that's no, I don't like that,
I'd be turned off by that. You're right.
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
But whereas as in our world of photography, if everything looks consistent to each other,
Mm-hmm.
then that you have a bigger, I guess, more of an ability to book that client and
Yeah.
to create that. So,
So
when we
you have a
coach and
better
things like that.
idea. You have a good idea of what you're going to be re receiving or expecting, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Exactly. And even like in our work here, I'll screen cap the purchase photos that someone did in our session, just so that way they know what they're getting. And I tell them, I
Mm-hmm.
said, well, this isn't done yet. This is just so that way you know what you're getting. And they go, okay,
Right.
great, but it's not too far off from the finished work because they're
Right.
consistent in color, consistent in lighting, consistent in all those different areas that I need to
Mm-hmm.
be consistent in. Camera
Right.
height, that's a big one, especially in headshot
Right.
lighting.
Of
Is the
course.
camera height going
Right.
all over the place, or is it,
Right.
focal lengths? Is the focal length over here 1.4, and then over here is f10? What are we buying?
Well, I
So.
think both of us can resonate with like the consistency of headshots since we're both headshot photographers, right?
Hmm.
And along with our personal branding that we do, right? So, like with the headshots, like you can see from the headshots that we have here of ourselves, they have the certain camera height. We have different, we do focus on lighting, right? And the expression. So, Mondo's I like your expressions in your headshots. You always got that cool look. You and your funky glasses. I love it. I'm like, remind me when I'm in there in Vegas. I got to photograph your headshot.
Well, absolutely. Well, the thing is, like
Yeah.
with my headshots, it's like because I have this forever double chin right here. So if I smile, it comes out. So if I smile
I
big, it comes out even more.
oh
So
my
I'm like,
gosh. Yeah. No, I know, me too. I know, but that's a natural, it's a human thing, right? So,
yeah.
but and
So I
so we
don't. So that
know,
way, I
we
just kind of like,
know, yeah, you're like,
yeah.
I
So just
like
like
it.
I do a touch of a smirk. I do, and the other thing is that like my eyes are really small and beady, and so
Yeah.
like when I smile, you get nothing. There's no light gets in those
Yeah.
eyes. So it's
Yeah,
like,
sometimes I like if I laugh too hard, it's like, basically I'm going to sleep.
yeah.
It's like,
So like,
but
for my headshot, it's like that too school for cool kind of look, of like, just a
yeah.
touch of a smirk of a smile, just some
Hey,
eyebrow
if you
pressure,
got it, you
some
got it,
squinch.
Mondo.
Yeah.
Come on, just own it. You're cool.
Well,
You're cool. Just yeah. What can you say?
what can I
Right.
say? What can I say? I've been known to be a little cool.
Yes. So, but that's the thing though, like we have different ways of lighting and different expressions, but that's how we coach you into that, right? And I
Hmm.
guess as a homage to our mentor Peter Hurley with the Headshot Crew, we have that thing where we want to make sure that we have confidence, approachability, and that you're just welcoming, and you just know your shit, right?
Hmm.
So I think it's just, and what I tell clients too, it's like I want to be able to look at your headshot that as if I was having a conversation with you,
Yeah.
if I and so it's about that eye level, right? Being able to
Hmm.
look and see. I don't want you looking down. We shouldn't be looking down. We shouldn't be looking up. We should be able to just have being eye level with the camera, right? Just to be able to
Hmm.
have that sort of nice, consistent look, right?
Hmm.
So that's where at least my thoughts on like headshot and the headshot world. Now I have a different style when I go into like the branding world. But essentially, it's still like around what our previous conversation was, is the lighting and being able to like make sure that the focus is on the face, and we have
Hmm.
the different postures and poses that we'll get into later.
Yeah. Yeah. We can.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and also yeah, and color. I've seen so much work, and not just in headshot land, but just in general. You have your family
Mm-hmm,
photographers and lifestyle photographers, and I kind of like scroll through on Instagram, and I see that shift of color, and
mm-hmm.
it's like, well, you're outside and it's a family shoot, cool, but it's blue, like the
Mm-hmm.
overcast is blue or green, and it's like,
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
why? It's a good shot. Why is it blue? And you know, I don't ever message the artist about it, but it just baffles me in my head of like, don't you see that? And I
Mm-hmm.
think the simple answer is no, they don't, because I used to do the same thing until I was shown otherwise. Even before I was in the crew, I watch a bunch of like YouTube videos, tutorials, and things like that. Just I like this is what I like to do. And
Right.
somebody had brought that up, and they say, "Well, listen, it's if you think about it, if you see a family out there in the forest or you're like in a meadow of sorts or things like that, and the cast is blue, what do you feel? You feel cold, right?
Right.
Blue is it goes back to color theory of what are you trying to say with that color cast? And
Mm,
it should be a warm tones because they're family, they love each other, they're there documenting this time in their lives where the kids are little or whatever, and you don't want to feel anything but that warmth. So you bring in the warm tones, the red tones, things like that, to where subconsciously you feel that feeling of warmth
you're
and
giving
and,
life
and
back into
goodness.
the shot.
Yeah, exactly, right?
and breathing
You know,
life.
versus like, say like in film, what they do is like what was it? Black Mirror. I remember this episode of Black Mirror, and this gentleman, the way that the camera shot him, he was walking through his house and everything was really cold and blue and just blue cast everywhere. And it's because
Hmm.
he was mourning, his the loss of his family because they left him, you know. But then
Right.
he was remembering the times that they were together in that same house, walking through, and all the tones are warm and they're bright and they have a
Yeah.
lot of like really good warm tones to it. So it just shows that subconsciously that we use that to tell the story as well. And so if you're shooting and you're doing family shoots or whatever, you got to look at those color tones. What is that color tone doing? Is it
Mm.
helping the shot? Is it not? Is it consistent with it? You know, so that's something to really be mindful of for consistency. Because
Yeah. And
especially in like, go ahead.
mhm. Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, that's why I use Capture One when I tether from my camera to the computer, and that's why like the profile set that I have set up are so important because I want to make sure that everything has that consistent look, and that
Mm-hmm,
look it to me has a little bit more warmth, little warmth in it, not too not crazy, but because I don't want it oversaturated in the skin tones, especially for the headshots, because you don't want it too red, but you don't want
mm-hmm,
it to be too cold and where you don't have any life in your face, right? We have
mm-hmm.
blood in our body. This is why. This is why we have that saturation, right? So
Mm-hmm.
let's get the blood back in, right? And
Yeah.
I have been guilty of it myself, and I know many of my colleagues can attest that from some of my shots from previous work many moons ago have been a little bit more on the cooler side. So I have learned myself to warm things up a little bit and breathe more life into my work.
Mm-hmm. But that's the journey though, right? That's the journey
Hmm.
we're all on, is that
Yeah.
I think what separates us, that have that what do I want to say, that oh my gosh,
Epiphany.
it's escaping me. Yeah, exactly. But
Like,
it's like,
oh
okay, so you have
my
the you have the, oh gosh, I love being mid 40s, just everything kind of like, oh,
God,
comes right
you're
out of my head.
fine.
I
You're
can't
fine.
remember.
You're good
But like you
company.
have like the old hats that sit there and they scoff everything. Oh, this isn't that, but they've stopped growing. They've stopped looking
Hmm.
at the work and seeing what they could do better. Versus people like us and other artists that go, okay, you know what, that was what I was doing then. I've since learned better and I have evolved and I
Yeah.
am different now. But it's all for the positive, So yeah, you did great work then, but you're looking back and going, yeah, it was a little blue, it was a little this, but now I'm doing this. And I think that really speaks to that journey. And that's what we're all on. This is a practice as opposed to a hard, this is what I'm doing and I'm the expert in this. It's like, no,
Yeah.
things always change, evolve, be better. And that's how you be better.
Right. So, real quick before we close this part out, what are some things that tips for you to give to other people, like on how do you keep your stuff consistent? How do you keep your work consistent?
Ooh. So I have like the what I want to say, like the winning shots of my portfolio. And so
Hmm.
when I am working on new shots, I can compare it to those. That way I can go, okay,
Hmm.
my saturation is a little bit pumped up here, but not there. Let me adjust. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, I'm just, see, right now I don't want to say like it's kind of like autopilot, but the way I have trained my eyes to see color, I take a test shot, and I look at it, I'm like, okay, that doesn't look like him, and then let me just move
Hmm.
this, but that's not really my style. So let me boost up the saturation a little bit, and that ends up becoming my consistent kind of look. Is I love saturation, I love hot highlights, I love deep shadows on some guys, so that would be more like the consistency of my work.
Yeah, I can see that. As you describe that, and I've seen your work, that's actually what I picture as your work, you know? So
So
good
I guess I
job.
do a good job.
Good job. Yes. Amazing. Awesome.
So, but let me ask you, Anna, the same question. Like, what do you
Yeah.
do where you feel is consistent in your work?
I similar to what you were mentioning as well, like with the color and the lighting. I do like the punchier lights. I do like to have like the warmth in my headshots now. Like even I think it's also the consistency and like the expressions. I feel like I go through a wave of emotion and expressions with my clients where I just kind of like, let's go on this expression journey, you know, let's
Hmm.
show me extreme joy, show me this. I like to describe the feelings so rather than tell them how to be. I'm
Hmm.
like, what does it look like if you're this? And say how, and sometimes when they're almost there with like that sort of like what you have is like your nice, cool, smoldery look in your headshot. I go like, say, without being like, it's too like schmarmy, so it's just
Yeah.
so when I think of consistency, I think of the way that I help and coach everybody through their expressions as well. So it's kind of like even throughout the whole journey of like once you step through my studio door, what happens first? They're greeted, I'm taking their wardrobe in, I'm curating the order, they're hitting up hair and makeup while I set up over here. Yes, thumbs up. I
Oh,
love
okay.
Zoom. I love Zoom for that. Yeah. Zoom agrees.
Hmm.
Yes. But yeah, but overall, like the consistent look of the final product of, the general sense and feel that you get from the expression, the posing, and just general joy, right? I want to be
Hmm.
exude general like joy and professionalism in the shots, because these are digital assets that we're using in your marketing that give this polished look for my clients, and I
Hmm.
just love that, and I love seeing it in production. But overall, consistency in like the coaching of expression and the consistency of like the style of color and lighting that I use throughout my process.
I like that, the consistency of what you do from start to finish. I like that
Mm-hmm.
because I do the same thing, not really knowing, that I was
Mm-hmm.
doing it. It's just like that's the cookie cutter, right?
Right.
Everything from the initial phone consult to when they walk in the door. You're right. Everything is the same. It's consistent to itself. And that
Right.
way, I think it kind of keeps the flow of what I'm doing, because like they come
Mm-hmm.
in, hey, how's it going? Let me get your stuff over here. Would you like something to drink? Cool.
Right.
So what are we doing today? We're doing this, this, and this. And then the regular banter, but it's all the exact same with every session, not because I'm lazy, but because it's just that's how I kind of establish a rapport, you know?
Exactly, right. You're
Yeah.
building that relationship with your clients. You're nurturing that relationship even further because you've already
Yeah.
established it, right? And
Yeah.
now it's just to the point of just making sure everybody, I I know you, Mondo. You are just so nice and respectful for everybody, and you're just giving everybody the Mondo treatment, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's 100%, right? You're just being you. It's just you're running on autopilot, and these are the things that you do consistently. So that's
Hmm.
why I was like saying earlier, like this is, even though it sounds like we're talking about niching down, it's different because it's consistency across everything that you do from start to
Hmm.
finish, throughout the whole photography, the portrait experience for your clients.
Hmm.
So and
Yeah.
what they can confidently expect from working with you, because they work from you because that's what they want, that's what they expect,
Yeah. And
right?
also with the reviews as well, if you have reviews, they should be
Mm-hmm.
consistent as well. And I
Right.
think a lot of people and big companies screw this up as well, is that they think, like, what is my brand? And
Mm-hmm.
it's not for us to tell people what our brand is. It's what we hear from our clients and customers, what they say about us, that becomes our brand. And
Mm-hmm.
so if like for me, I constantly go through my reviews and things like that. But what's consistent about the reviews is that I'm funny, I'm approachable, I make people feel comfortable and relaxed, and they have a lot of fun. And so that has become my brand, because that's what they're saying.
Right.
And so that's what I choose to put out there as far as like my actual marketing campaigns go. Is like, oh well, here's the reviews, here's what you can
Mm-hmm.
expect. you know
Right.
and that goes for the bad as well. If it was, yeah, the pictures were good, but he seemed kind of a little creepy or something like that. It's like,
Which you're not.
yeah, well, no, no.
Which you're not.
I try
Let's
not to
just be
be,
clear.
but that's what it is. You can't tell people what
Hmm.
your brand is. People tell you. And so
Yeah.
if you
Hmm.
listen to your clientele, if you listen to that, then you go, okay, well, let me just go ahead and change it, but in a positive way. I think like, hey, some people didn't like how I did this, so let me change that and cut
Right.
that out and change it for the better. Yeah.
Exactly. Awesome. I love it. Love it. Love it. This one I thought was kind of interesting. It's more about, as we both are doing branding photography alongside our headshots, uh, what are some of the poses that you don't want to do for your
Ooh,
clients?
this is a laundry list,
I
and
know.
it's like
We'll just talk
it's
about a few. It's not us hating, okay? Things are
no,
these are probably poses that you and I probably want to stay away from just because, it's like maybe it's overdone or maybe it's just like,
yeah,
is it kind of
it's
cheese ball?
passe, it's dated. Yeah, cheese ball. The cheese factor is huge on it. Cheese
Yeah.
factor 5,000.
Yeah.
Um, the go-to one for me that I hate and I see so much of,
Yeah.
it's the punch from underneath. So the thinker, it's called. So person's looking at the camera and they have just that one fist underneath their chin, and it
Mm.
just looks like somebody is underneath the table giving a nice little uppercut to their chin. It's just, it looks so cheesy. It looks so bad. I hate it. So rather than do that, if I have a client that says, okay, well, I want to do this, this, and this, as far as like, I want to put my hands in the frame, then it's okay, cool. Then that's not a headshot, it's a portrait, which is all good. Let's do that. But instead of
Yeah.
punching from underneath, I would move that hand just off to the side. So
Yeah.
it gives us a
Yeah.
little bit of more of like a resting. I'm just looking at the camera, thinking
Just
about
a little
something
bit.
else. Yeah,
Yes.
just a touch. Or
Yeah.
just a
I
light
agree.
hand off to the side of the
Mm-hmm.
cheek, something like
You're like,
that.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I feel aesthetically it looks better, and it doesn't. It just seems so weird to have that fist
Yes.
come up out of nowhere
Yeah.
under their chin.
And full
It looks so
disclosure,
bad.
these are just our opinions. It's not like it's not
Yeah.
there for everybody else, but yeah, I also do try and veer away from the thinker or punching the face or whatever you want to call it. But and I too do as well, like try and like soften the hands here. Yeah, I did not do my nails today, but yeah, so I usually kind of like soften the hand and move it like that, move face around, whatever, but definitely not straight up underneath the jaw because I feel like it's just like, what do you put your face on a
Yeah.
tripod? It's like no, it's not. No, I mean I'm not feeling it. That's
Hmm.
and I will say that I did photograph some people of all of I'm like visualizing my portfolio work. I do have somebody that's like this, and I think that's kind of okay. Like just kind of
Yeah.
like, hey, passe, right? So
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, but we're thinking this way, but not thinking like this way because I think that's just
Yeah.
weird. Yeah,
It is weird. But yeah, the way you're saying it, just off to the side, kind of like hand, kind of like, I don't want to say limp, but just more
yeah, just like hey,
stylized. I
like
think. I think that's the right
as
word, stylized.
stylized as if it was kind of
Hmm.
like a movement, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, hey, let me think about that. So,
Yes.
you know, maybe we'll
I'm
see
actually just
like,
doing it
hey,
right now. I'm
everybody
just
like
mirroring
post in
it.
the comments like your favorite thinker shot. I want to see
Yeah,
it.
right.
Maybe you'll make a believer out of me. Okay, prove us
Mhm.
wrong. Make us love this shot again.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. I think one of mine that I really try and stay away from is like the crossing the arms like this.
With the hard
I
lean.
try, yeah, the hard lean. I try to. You'll see it in some of my shots because it does look good on people. I
Hmm.
mean, I'm not a big hater of it, but I don't go to. It's not my first go to. So
Yeah.
instead of that, I kind of like play with like, putting the hand in the pocket or a pretend pocket and just use that so Lindsay Eller is the one that gives me all the triangles, right? So creating the triangles
Hmm.
creates like interesting, body shape, right? So I love being able to play with that because, otherwise, if you have your hands down, people want to do stuff with the hands, right? And the natural thing is do that because it feels safe. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I feel safe doing that too when I'm just I did it today while we're on the phone on this Zoom call. But I think if I give my clients something to do with their hands, they feel even better. So by putting it one hand in a pocket, creating that nice triangle separation from the body, because when you put the arm straight here, it naturally flattens your arm, and then nobody wants this. I mean, if I didn't have a sleeve on, I would not put this on the Zoom call, right? Or the podcast. Okay. This would not make it. I would say, cut that out, but I'm
Right.
wearing
Well, plus
sleeves,
it
so I
adds
can
like
do that.
5, 10 pounds to you as well. It just bulks you
Absolutely.
out. Nobody wants that.
Yeah. See, and this is why we as your photographers should know, how to pose you. We don't want you that way. We don't want to you flatten any skin on other. It's gonna look huge, and no one's gonna say yes, I love that, unless you just
Nope.
really have nothing there, and that's not likely.
No, not likely. No, not likely.
Not likely. Yeah. So, I'm not a hater of that pose, but I won't do it as often. I will try everything in my power to try and do something different. So,
Now, here's another thing: is that would that be also contingent on body type?
yes.
So like the poses that we do, are they going to be more towards like, hey, someone's coming in that might be a little bit heavier, or that might be thinner,
Hmm.
or do you base these poses off of that as well?
Sometimes yes, but I still try it. I still try different poses on every body type just to see where it's at. And like I was saying before, it's like if I have a brain, like, for lack of a better term, a brain fart in like my whole like posing, I will have you try that pose, but it immediately gives me a minute to like spark creativity on what my next pose would be for you. So I would try it, but then, because as Mondo and I both do this, we do review straight after your shoot. We review through your photos. So, that would be like one of the ones we just toss out. If I know, like, nope, passing by that one, that was not a good shot. Let's go to the next one. Right.
Hmm.
So I'll try another pose. I would say if you very, very slender physiques look, look great doing this, you know, because they just have that streamline look.
Hmm.
Um,
And by doing
but
this for the podcast listeners, you're talking about crossing the arms,
crossing the arm, sorry,
tall
yes.
stature. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, tall stature, good posture. No schlumping
Hmm.
on this one because that looks really
Hmm.
like not polished, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, but long, short answer to that is yes, I try all poses with everybody, and I just see what sticks.
Yep. I think
Hmm.
that's good because what's really beneficial for us in this day and age is that everything's digital.
Hmm.
Whereas, 20 years ago, everything was film. And so you didn't have the luxury of being able to test out shots and have the immediate uh, gratification of seeing what that shot looked like,
Yeah,
because you would just kind of like point and click and pray. Hopefully it comes out. So let's just
yeah,
go through 100 rolls of film and see what looked well, or what went well. Versus
exactly.
now we shoot tethered. I can sit there and see exactly what's going on. And even if I'm doing like portrait work, I can do like some color grading so that way they can see what I have like, visualized in my head, and
I
it really
know.
helps
Isn't
my
that
client kind of
amazing?
see what's going on. It's so cool. We're so
Don't
baby.
you feel
Oh my gosh.
don't you feel like a magician sometimes? Because you're like, you just know what's gonna come out, You can see
Yeah.
it. Hmm.
But I think that's us as artists, and
Hmm.
when I was with my kids scout troop, and we're talking because they have a photography merit badge and things like that. And I said, who's an artist in here? And nobody raised their hand. I had my hand raised. I go, you're an
Hmm.
artist too. It is all an artist is being able to take what's up in your mind and putting it out there for the world to see. So whether it
Yeah.
be photography, whether it be culinary, whether it be
Hmm.
woodworking, you have something in your brain, and then you're able to put it out there in the 3D world for people to look at and enjoy or have an opinion about. So
Yeah.
use that. You know.
Right. exactly. And I say that to people that step in front of my camera all the time. It's like, you know what? Are you ready to create art today? Let's do it. You know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And that's
that's
what we're
fun.
doing. We're creating art with these subjects who've never really done that this way or in the way we approach it, I think is like,
Yeah.
is that differentiator because we're looking at it from an artistic point of view, going,
Hmm.
hey, we're going to find your best angle. We're going to find this best look for you. What's going to help sell you to make you more money, you know?
Right. I always say to everybody too, it's like no double chins on my watch.
Ooh, no, no, not today or any other day. Ain't happening.
Not today. Not today. Uh, Mondo, give me one more pose that you start try and stay away from.
One more pose. So this would be for like if you have two people in the same frame, and that would
Hmm.
be like the old 80s guys right
Oh,
here, and the girl's slumped over his back and kind of like holding him from behind, and you have hair lights going on and all that. And I still see it today, and I'm like, why?
yeah,
Why? Why are
yeah.
we doing this to these people? Do
You
you
don't
hate
like the
them?
hug from behind. You don't like the hug from behind.
It's
Is it
just,
the chokehold? The chokehold?
hey, yeah, exactly. And again,
Oh, I
that's
know.
my opinion. People rock it, people love it, all
Hey,
good to you,
you know, yeah,
just know I'm
actually, I
judging
think,
you.
yeah, no, no, no. Yeah, no, it's just stuff that like, we think in our brains. And I think we all have that. What are your go-to poses that you try and stay away from, and, it happens to all of us, I think. Um,
Hmm.
but especially, when you're doing wedding photography, that's like, I give a lot of props to wedding photographers because things are just like right on the spot. And that's why I do a small handful of weddings a year just so I can keep myself fluid like that. So I can
Hmm.
know what it's
Keep
like.
it sharp.
Keep yourself sharp. And we can probably talk about that in another podcast on what do we do to keep ourselves uh sharp in our field of work, our style of
Hmm.
photography, other maybe personal projects that we do, etc. So maybe that's something that we can talk about at another time. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think as far as like advice goes for, new photographers and also photographers who just kind of feel stuck, you know,
Mhm.
is find another artist that you admire and just start to kind of like emulate that look or
Yeah,
see what they're doing, deconstruct it, and reverse engineer what they did and go for it, and
yeah.
make it your own.
Oh my God, that's so perfect. I mean, that perfectly wraps up this podcast too, because we talked about
Hmm.
like some trends and seeing like people that we are, you know, influenced by, that are like iconic to like you like their style, maybe, and that's great. As maybe a budding photographer, go and find somebody that you like their style and you can see that they have a style because they have consistency in that look too, right? Maybe it's
Hmm.
consistency in the posing, maybe it's all black and white, maybe it's monochromatic, maybe it's full
Hmm.
color to like the nth degree or whatever. But i I highly encourage what you just said too, is just to find somebody that influences your style and that you feel really jazzed about, right?
Hmm.
And just practice it, practice,
Yep.
and continue to ask questions to your friends, your peers that are in the photography world. And if you have any questions for us, we'll have, if we don't know the answer, we'll help figure it out. So just go ahead and put some questions
Yeah.
for us too.
Yeah. Put it
Um,
in the comments, in the chat, hit us
yeah,
up, DM us, and then who knows? We'll feature it. I think that would be
exactly.
kind of cool.
Yeah,
Because
that
I
could be
think
cool.
Yeah, I think what we'd like for this platform to be like more of like a conversation, not just between
Hmm.
us, but also between the listeners. So yeah,
Yeah.
put something in the chat if there's an area that you would like to hear about, and we'll put it up there. We'll make a show about it.
So, yeah, that would be great. So, yeah, I think that's it. So, any last comments, Mondo, for today's podcast?
Let's see. Let's see. That was a good show, I think. We had a lot of good
Yeah,
topics and things.
a lot of good
Um,
topics.
but yeah, follow us on all the things. We have the YouTube, we have the TikToks, we have I love saying it like that.
We got the
The
TikToks.
TikToks. Yeah.
What are you,
We're
70?
TikToking it, on the Instas.
Oh my God. Oh my God. You are hilarious. This is why I love Mondo. This is why we started this like back in December, like as an idea, like, because we were just like, hey, I called Mondo out of the blue. I'm like, hey, I like your style, buddy. I like your ad work on LinkedIn. It's looking pretty solid. So, and we just talked for like, I don't know, like maybe an hour and a half or so.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, you know what? All these things that we talked about, maybe somebody might could benefit from our conversation. So
Right?
this is how it
Yeah.
started. So if you do have ideas or topics or feedback or whatever, put it in the comments. We'd love to
Hmm.
work with you, or maybe we'll feature you on this podcast. Who knows? We'll see where
Yeah,
it
that'd be
goes.
cool. Yeah, as well as critiques. If you have an image you want us to critique, we could take a look at it. And again, that's just our opinion, our professional opinion, you could say, of what we would do, or But it's always good to
Yeah,
get an outside
perspective.
view of your work. Yeah, yeah, perspective of your
Mm-hmm.
work, because that's what brought me to the level I'm at right now. Because otherwise, I would have no idea what I was doing wrong or what I was doing
Right.
right. You know.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but I think that's great. So yeah,
Awesome.
put it in the chat and we'll see you guys all next time.
Yes. Ciao, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.